one of our clients who has the business valuation calculator that gets like 2,500 searches per month for that one calculator. The lead magnet itself drives intent and search, and then you wrap that with blog content. And then as the blog content gets more traffic, you funnel all that blog content to the tool. Everything makes sense, connects together, because you can assume that if someone's on the blog, they're going to want to play around with this free tool. But just like, this thing just feels like it's like such a good like no brainer. And so
Mhm.
we pretty much spent a year figuring out how to do it at scale, did a couple of test runs, a couple of beta projects. And now we can crank out the tool in like 5 hours.
Mhm.
Um, it's just like this
Interesting.
massive unlock.
Welcome to Marketing by Design, where you and I learned from our favorite founders and marketers on how they built their success and told their stories by design. I am your host, Andy Milligan. Let's get started.
So Trio's only been alive for going on 3 years. So we randomly met when I was in a super hardcore networking phase, just kind of figured out LinkedIn and kind of was really addicted to growing my personal brand on LinkedIn. And this was back in like December of 2022, I think it was. And so back then, I mean, the reach was just crazy. It was just, it's such a different vibe from where LinkedIn is now. And so I was just networking a ton. And I met Connor because he was really big into SEO. And I was kind of coming off of, my first company. So we just had a networking call. It was like a 15-minute chat, like nothing crazy, just kind of, hey, what do you do? What do I do? I ended up doing a collab with him and just kind of left it at that. And then we were just DMing, random stuff. And he's like, hey, here's my phone number. Like, I don't really check my DMs. If you ever, want to chat or talk business or talk entrepreneurship, blah, 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 like always happy to. And we kind of just stayed in touch one off like that. And then I was working at a startup at that time, and I was there for like maybe 4 or 5 months, and I just dreaded every single second of it. Like I just hated the commute. I hated working there. It just felt very opposite of my identity at that time, and so I quit on the spot. Didn't have a backup plan, and just figured out. I was like, hey, I'll die before I go another day. I'll just figure it out. And that was when I texted Connor and I said, hey, like I quit my job. I'm just going to freelance or consult or figure it out until I start making money. If you guys have any ideas in mind, like I would love to partner. I think that you and Nate are, great entrepreneurs. We all vibe well. You guys are cool dudes, like wherever that can lead to. And he pretty much said, we don't come to people with ideas. Like if you have something in mind, bring it to us and we can kind of chat about it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like respect, whatever. Didn't really think of it. Months passed and we were just texting one night and I was like, why don't you guys have an SEO agency? Like it makes so much sense with you and your background. And they had just come off an exit and they sold to the Hoff. And the Hoff is like a massive SEO agency. And so they just have a bunch of credibility in that space and their name. And the first company they built, they scaled it to like 12 mil ARR and exited that. So, I mean, just like so much of a networking flex in that sense as well. And they're like, oh no, we've thought about it. Like we have it all mapped out. We have like a 20-page marketing document on how we would launch it and the strategy and the pricing and the packages. And they had pretty much already done the heavy lifting of designing what it would look like. And so then I said, well, I already know the systems. Like I could just take everything from my first company. And at that time we were already managing, like we owned 40 sites and we were publishing like 400 articles a month. So I kind of already knew what the system looked like
Oh,
up to a certain scale. And so I just pretty much copied that entire system and then threw that playbook over to Trio. And that was like, if you guys can get some beta clients, like I can operate it and the entire thing and we'll see what happens. So we talked and kind of floated the ideas around. And that was like another month of like massaging that idea and kind of getting to know each other better and, deeper phone calls and hour-long talks and trying to figure things out. And that's where it started.
what drew you to them initially? Did you just like, because I think of the content that I consume,
mostly on LinkedIn nowadays. I'm starting to my time on YouTube is not as productive as I would like to even talk about. But when I come across like either a creator or someone online that I end up engaging or resonating with, it's usually a pretty quick thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's even like the first video or the first post or first thing I read from them is it kind of like sticks in your mind is like, yeah, this is maybe it's even like their profile headshot, some combination of what you see in the presentation of themselves. What drew you to these two guys initially? Was it just a specific post you can remember? Or was this like the first conversation? I know you were doing you're probably having a lot of these conversations at the time, but what stuck out to you about these two guys that really made you want to reach out to them when you know, had this chapter? What was different about them?
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird because I remember I like the first time I ever talked to Connor, it was like in his comments, and he posted something about SEO, and I said something along the lines of like, yeah, it's something similar to like the grind of entrepreneurship and delayed gratification, and if you can do one, you can do the other one really well. And I was like,
It's
you
very
know,
Hormozy of you to say that. Yeah.
yeah. And I said that, and I was like, "Do you want to collab on this idea?" And then he's like, "Yeah, sure." We kind of talked in the DMs, and then he like, and we joke about it now, but he like ghosted me for months, and I didn't care. Like I was so occupied doing other stuff. I didn't pester him, and I didn't like follow up and be like, "Hey, when are we gonna do this thing?" And I guess that was a strength in his eyes, and he kind of saw it as like, "Hey, I was patient, and I wasn't." Like annoying or poking at him. Like I kind of just let him do his thing, and then he came back around when it was a good time for him. I guess that kind of played well in his book. And then when we met, I just it was a very comfortable vibe. I don't know. He's like both of them are just like probably the most humble, easiest to get along people I've ever met. And I met Nathan later, and Nathan's so funny because if you like meet the two people, they're like yin and yang, and that's kind of why they work really well in business. Like, Nathan is like overly caffeinated Labrador, and then Connor is like a like super chill. I don't know, like I don't even know what the dog is to be, but like just like the most like easygoing dog, like a corgi or something like that. And
Yeah.
so I jumped in the
It's like
call with
a
Nate, and Nate,
bloodhound. Bloodhound.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
I jumped in the call with Nate after meeting Connor, and Nate was like just so like go go go, like what do you do? Who do you help? How can I help you? It was like such a strictly fast like networking call, and I was just like,
Mhm.
like I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And then like now knowing Nate, like I just felt like that's his personality, which is hilarious. But yeah, I know I just felt like I just got this gut feeling in my like soul, I guess. And I've only had a couple of those in business, and every time I followed it, it's kind of led me down a path that's been prosperous. And so I think that I've had a lot of positive reinforcement around that gut feeling. And so every time I feel it, I know what that feeling is and know that it's something I need to lean into. And that's the easiest way to
Yeah.
describe it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What last question I'll ask kind of about the early days is because I want to get more into the current state of Trio where you guys are at now. But you did mention, I don't want to gloss over it, is that you were kind of building your personal brand while you were working at a startup. Um, I think a lot of people aren't as forward thinking about doing that when maybe they're not in house, but they just aren't forward thinking enough to realize how beneficial doing something like that is. I mean, obviously it's self-reinforcing to the point like you get followers, you're having more conversations, but what led you to like start creating content in the first place? Were you always sharing SEO stuff or because since we've been connected, it's only been about 6 or 7 months. So I didn't scroll all the way back to the beginning of your LinkedIn timeline. So like what when you started building a personal brand online, like what did it look like in the early days and what prompted you to start being more visible?
Yeah. So I was just coming off of, so I left my first company. We scaled it up. And then like any traditional first company, crash and burn. So we scaled it up to like 7 figures. I think we had just hit like 1.4, and then, um, got just absolutely rocked by like 3 different things in 30 days. And I was just kind of like, okay, time to set that one down and kind of figure out what's next. So I left the company, I took about a year off. And then after about a year, I was pretty much out of money and like was just like, okay, it's probably like replenish my savings. And then that was when I started applying to jobs. And so that's obviously like, where else do you go when you're applying to jobs? LinkedIn. And so I just kind of like, touched up my profile. Like I hadn't touched it since high school and kind of like overdid my entire portfolio or profile. And then I was like, I saw this post and I reposted it and I got like 110,000 impressions on this one repost. And I was just like, what? Like, what did
It's
I just
hooked.
like?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Mhm.
exactly like that. It was like, you just gave me like the immediate drug to that I needed at this time to like keep going. And so then I was just like, this is not going to last. Like I knew coming from SEO that getting that much organic reach off a post that I didn't even create was like a very right place, right time thing. I didn't know at the time. I just kind of felt like I was like, oh, there's something here. And so I just started
Mm.
creating content and it was like January 1st. I remember I was driving home. So we drove to Arizona to go visit my like in-laws. And we were driving back and I was like, my New Year's resolution for 2023 is to post every day on LinkedIn for 3 years and just see what happens. I did that and I just kind of kept posting. And like the first like 100 posts were just absolute trash. Like if you look back in there, like I have all the posts saved in a spreadsheet, they're just so bad. But like I just put in the reps and then I started networking a ton and I comment a ton and I'd have coffee calls a ton and I'd like 5 coffee calls a day and I would just meet people and like I just kind of became really obsessed with like mastering this thing. And so in the beginning, I was actually going into like how to be LinkedIn personal brand specialist. And that was what I was consulting on. And that was like my way to master personal branding was to just kind of like become obsessed with it and then sell services.
Hey, real quick, this episode is brought to us by our friends at Cohatch. I have a quick story to tell you. A while back, I realized I was recreating this bizarre little cave at home where I ate, slept, and worked out, all within the same like 300 square feet. I was getting distracted by everything: pets, YouTube, laundry, food. Okay, I'm joking a little bit on the food one, but like the refrigerator was right there, so not really. If you're a founder, a marketer, or a solopreneur, your revenue is directly tied to your effectiveness on the job and your output. You don't notice how much of a role a bad environment plays in your productivity until it starts to sink, and your revenue follows slowly behind it. I had come across Cohash at a ton of networking and community events as I was right here in Columbus, Ohio, building my business. When I finally invested in a membership, that is when things flipped for me. My ideas felt bigger again. I felt like I was showing up for other people. I felt cleaner, sharper, and honestly, just happier. When you're making a bigger impact in your business, your clients are happier, and your perceived happiness with your own existence, your own business, skyrockets. The best part is that the only distractions at Cohatch are other high performing people. And that is the good kind of distractions, the kind that leads to partnerships, conversations, and new ideas that propel you forward. If my little environment of doom pattern sounds familiar to you, Cohatch might be the exact shift that you need in your business and your life. They've actually been generous enough to offer you, as a Marketing by Design podcast listener, 2 full free weeks. I would have killed for this when I first started, guys, but they're giving it to you 100% for free. That is why I love Cohatch. That is why I'm a huge advocate of everything they are. They're not giving this deal out anywhere else, so I highly encourage you to head down the description, grab that for yourself, and back to the pod.
Hindsight, it's always 2020. If I would have just stuck with SEO from day one, I'd probably be as big as Connor is. I mean, he has like 120,000 followers now, which is crazy. But yeah, that's how I started. Was just kind of like gamifying this thing. And I set a 3-year goal to post every day. And I think I probably missed over under by 90 days or less. And that's just how I try to stay consistent.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, there's people that set, New Year's resolutions. And then there's people that set 3 New Year's resolutions in one. So you're gonna post for 3 years, as your
Yeah.
part of your 2023 goal. But
Yeah.
no, like, that's awesome. Honestly, very similar. I went through a layoff, right after I graduated college, February 1st of 2024, and I literally remember that day because that was the first time I actually made, like, a post, and it was God, it was like a screenshot of something I was doing in, like, Adobe Photoshop, I think, and, um, I didn't go to the measures of, like, logging it in Excel or on a Google Sheet, but I've done it every day, and I've missed a handful of times every week since then. Um, you are like a pillar of consistency. Like, seeing you on there every day, whether it's a carousel, whether it's just, a small text post. I mean, I highly encourage the listeners to go to your profile and just see what consistency looks like there. One question that's kind of like accelerating our timeline. That's more maybe a bit of like a personal, scratching a personal itch for me on the content side is how structured is it now? Do you have a team member that helps you kind of do like a review of, because I know how this stuff works. Like if you have all that data to act on, especially if you were tracking it from the beginning, you have so much leverage in terms of knowing just what works. And obviously the platform changes and you're talking about different things kind of as you talked about throughout your journey. But do you have any method of like for the purposes of agency growth and getting eyes on Trio and everything like that, like distilling or repurposing, repackaging what's performed well in the past, and then making that part of what's on the horizon in the future? What's kind of your content lead gen process look like now?
Yeah, so I have a spreadsheet with every single post I've ever posted in sequential order. A majority of those posts also have analytics, like every quarter up until like year two, 2.5. I would go back every 90 days and add in analytics like by hand. So I just know like what posts performed well. Then I also like at the end of 2025 or no, 2024, I like chugged a bunch of coffee and went through and categorized every post based on like on page, off page, technical, agencies, types, entrepreneurship posts, selfies, like every category you can think of, like just cranked out a bunch of extras so I could just kind of like analyze it all, which is super helpful because I can just like, one, I know what's going to work well, what doesn't. The other is I never run out of content. Even if I haven't written anything fresh, quote unquote, I always post no matter what. So I can always just pull back. And I have different designs also. Like that was the other kind of like really first big unlock was that I had this design carousel that nobody was doing at the time, and now I haven't really seen anybody do it since. But I put it's almost like a flip book, like those like flip books where you like flip
Yeah.
the pages and they all like trinkle
Yeah.
along. So what I did is I put a little character of a bunny at the beginning of the first page, and then as you went through the carousel, the bunny finished the end of the race. And it just absolutely blew up. And so like I like went through that whole phase, and then I would like redesign it and like put a different character, and I would put like a guy on a moped across. And so then I would sort of go into that. So I just started kind of experimenting with different types of illustrations, and then different branding, images versus carousels. I mean, yeah, there's just so much because you can only like talk about so many things in SEO. Like you can only talk
Yeah.
about, there's like I can name them all in my hand essentially, but you have to figure out how to
Yeah.
talk about all those things 100 different ways. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's been helpful. I do have a team member now. She's just started with me like December, like 2 months ago, and she's just helping me make sure I never not post. Cause like there was a period of time where I was just like so busy. I'm like, I don't even want to go back and repost anything or like try to get new
Yeah.
content. It was just like low. It was just, and I was so burnt out too. Like I kind of had to figure
Yeah.
out how to get that going. But yeah, just always tracking. I think that's kind of always been my competitive advantage in that. But trends change,
Mhm.
algorithms change. Um, I'm starting my first period of time also in this like I think it's been almost 3 weeks or 2 weeks where I'm posting twice a day now,
Hmm.
and trying to see what
Yeah, I
that
noticed that.
how that propels. And then I just started on Threads also, and um, I like Threads way better, and I'm posting 16 times a day on Threads.
Holy shit, dude. Okay. Well, that's the good part about being visible and online is that it's pretty like I knew a lot of the current content motions you're doing. That's why I'm uniquely suited to ask questions about them. But
Yeah.
you kind of like I'm not on Threads. You just took me back with that 16 times a day you're posting on Threads. Like what the hell is that? Like is that like an arbitrage play I'm missing out on? What's the deal there?
I think so. I mean, like so I jumped on Threads about a week ago, and the engagement is just like so genuine, which is why like I kind of fallen off LinkedIn is because everything now is like AI slop. Like
Yeah.
I see like one comment that's not AI, and that's the only one I reply to. But if you reply and I can see it's AI, like I don't care about trying to like boost my post for more reach. I'm like, no, like the content's here, like or not. Um, But Threads is just like a big group chat. Like every single person that you talk to is like, I'm like texting Andy and Andy's texting me back. It's like the craziest opportunity, I would say, for businesses and entrepreneurs. Like, I think you should absolutely start just like tinkering around with it. But then I was like reading people, like, of course, like every platform is always like, follow me to learn how to post or follow me to like growth
Yeah.
hack your way through success on Threads. And then I would
Uh,
go to their profile and they'd have like 200 followers. I was like, how are you
yeah.
going to post about
That's
getting success on Threads when you have like as many followers as I do? So then I started
that's
reading more about like, it's like the
the
ultimate
fat
scam.
personal trainer right there. That's what we call a fat
Exactly.
personal trainer. Yeah.
So long story short, I started posting and I post like once a day. And I was just like, it's such like an organic, like a thought post. Like it's usually like one or two sentences. It's like you don't post very crazy like carousels or long text or anything like that. But if I was posting once a day, I was like, I have to wait 30 days to figure out 30 different posts. And so I just kind of said like, screw it. I'm just going to post every hour from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it's only one or two sentences each. And you can schedule within the native Threads platform, which is super nice. So I can just like bang out all of these posts like I'm texting and just like general thought ideas, schedule them out and let them roll. And then people engage and I can engage back. And then when I have downtime, I just go engage in the general feed. So
Hmm. Is the audience over there the quality as to what you might, and again, like we talked about AI, like
yeah,
taking over LinkedIn, but is the audience quality there match? Because I can't imagine like, and this is, I mean, I'm here to learn. So is the audience quality there like execs, people who, like, are you talking about SEO mostly, even in the short content snippets that you're posting over there? And is the audience quality that's receiving it one who could be productive from a business standpoint as well?
it's a little bit of both. So like what works really, like at least what I have found in the week that I've been on, like posts that work really well is like when you talk about Threads, like the actual platform, like in a meta sense, it gets way more reach. So like a lot, like I do like a third split of my day is like, so if it's at 16 posts, it's like say 5-ish are going to be about Threads, 5-ish are going to be about SEO, and then 5-ish are about entrepreneurship, but in the entrepreneurship sense of like either supportive material or encouragement material. Like, um, like here's a reminder that entrepreneurship is really hard no matter what. Keep going. People are gonna just like that, eat it up, engage with it, support it, you know, blah blah blah. And then like Threads will be like, um, I love my new group chat. If you're reading this, you're not alone. Support, refresh. And then like the SEO side is like, usually trying to like call out people and kind of like stir the pot a little bit. So it's like I posted one the other day that went pretty well. It was like, anybody who claims to be an AI SEO or GEO expert is full of trash. Don't listen to them. And then that kind of like went really well. So just trying to like figure out different engagement tactics. And that's kind of the thing about posting so much is that it's just reps. I'm just trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, different hooks, different like writing styles, long versus short versus question versus not, etc.
Mhm. Yeah. I think you really have to have the experimental kind of mindset to it to, enjoy it. I'm I'm kind of having one of those moments right now where it's like, Hormozy shared a story where he paid like a ridiculous amount of money for like some consulting session, and all the guy asked him was like, "Okay, how much content you making?" And he goes like,
Yeah,
"I don't
that's
know, a
where I know
post a
I'm a
day."
huge. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
I'm having that moment right now talking to you. So, um,
well, that is like that's I'm a huge Hermosi fan. Like I've listened to like almost every podcast, and so that thing is what I thought about when I was just like, I'm posting once a day. I can't expect to grow. And it's like even on LinkedIn, like if reach is down on LinkedIn across the board, which it is and has been, like anybody who says, "Oh, don't post twice a day," is just like unless you've actually been posting twice a day for a couple months and have that data that says otherwise, then fine, that's great. But I've been posting twice a day for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and every single post I post actually gets on average the same amount of engagement as I was posting once a day. So by just straight up numbers speak, I'm getting twice as much reach as I was before.
yeah, that's why like and it's another Hormozyism. It's like more, better, new. Mm, I think it's like 90% of the time the answer is just do more of it, and then you'll know whether or not it's working, rather than just like, oh, am I doing the right thing, and then wasting your head trash on that. Um, I'm trying a couple different things, and this is what you shouldn't do. Obviously, you should isolate experiments. Um, I'm doing more like one post a day, and then like because that's like 90% of my job right now is, I mean, that should be all of our jobs as kind of, founder execs is lead generation. So and I've done a pretty good habit of this. Is just the small signals of like going back through your past posts. I have a team member now too who will create a list of people who were kind of within ICP that aren't obvious, like foreigners or people who are AI, obviously, mm, and creating a list that I can then start conversations with afterwards. But even that isn't as scalable as I would like it to be. Uh, I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is, like you said, trying new things and being being mindful of what you're doing to actually follow up. Because especially in what we do is just such a long sales cycle. Like you always have to be present or out there. And that's where a lot of people fall short is that they view it as like a one time thing. And it's not, you know, it's not product
Right.
marketing. It's
Yeah, it's
B2B. So,
ongoing forever. Yeah, no, it's just
right.
like that's the hardest part too, is that it's and that's kind of my point. Is like if I know that what it took to get to the 3-year mark, and it's like I have enough content now to do 2 a day. And that's also the thing I was gonna say when you were thinking of that, or when you were saying that, is that, like, if you are trying to get leads and your game on LinkedIn is lead gen, I usually post my first post in the morning is more bottom of the funnel, and then I do my second post more top of funnel
Mm,
because that's gonna
yeah.
get better engagement. So that's kind of how I've been thinking about it. Cause like, yeah, if you only do bottom of the funnel, it's going to get far less engagement, but it's going to be directly to your ICP. But then the top of funnel stuff is more like the general SEO tips and tricks, or like your stuff. It'd be like web design hacks or CRO hacks or whatever that is. But then the bottom of the funnel is going to be like, hey, I did this one thing and it increased conversion by X%. So
Yeah. I, yeah, that's really good. When we talk about, so let's, let's talk, more when it comes to like the SEO side. What are you doing? Is there anything that you guys do internally there? I know, I actually, Steven, I like to do this thing where, I call it like hide and seek. So I'll go in and I'll opt into other agencies' funnel to see what it looks like,
oh,
just seeing
geez.
and learn what
Okay.
I can. But no, like I a couple days ago, I go to Steven's profile and I download the lead magnet system. Um, what is we'll start there. Like, what is a lead magnet system, and what is that? What's the tandem, the crossover between that and SEO, and what have you guys been experimenting with on that front?
Yeah. So we had 2 clients come to us and wanted to work with us to get SEO services. And these are at different times of the agency's life. But long story short, they each came to us and said, hey, we already have a lead magnet. It's a calculator on the site where people can go and input their information. And then when they quote unquote get sent a free report, they get sent the report and we collect it on the back end, and everyone's happy. And that counts as a MQL, or a marketing qualified lead from that sense. And so they just said, hey, like, don't worry about that. Just get as much traffic to these tools as possible. It's like, okay, cool. Like that's easy. And so that success has turned into 2 case studies. One of the clients was actually like our 3rd client, I think, that was ever with us, and they still are with us. So 3-year relationship. Other client just signed their 2nd full year all the way through 2026. And so I was really frustrated by churn, just like any agency owner. Like, clients churn, it's out of your control. Even more so in SEO, when I would do my job of I would be hired on to grow traffic, and then 9 months later they would fire us because there's no leads or whatever. But the same conversation before that was me saying, "Hey, you need to update your user experience. You have a book a call for a 45-minute Calendly as your primary CTA. Your book a demo link is an hour-long calendar call. Your website looks like it hasn't been updated since 2012. All of these things that you and I know. just don't equal conversion. And I'm sitting here banging this drum with 3 to 5x traffic and no leads. And I'm like, it's not a traffic problem, it's a conversion problem. And they're like, well, we don't have the bandwidth to fix that. So I just like hated having these conversations. I knew that it always meant churn. And so I was looking back at those clients who I just mentioned, and they had those lead magnets. And I was just like, this makes so much sense. The calculators and other tools like quizzes or assessments or readiness valuations, whatever you want to call it, they already have inherent search demand, like as a keyword themselves. So one of our clients who has the business valuation calculator, which is like a M&A sell your business sort of thing, that gets like 2,500 searches per month for that one calculator. So the lead magnet itself drives intent and search. And then you wrap that with blog content. And then as the blog content gets more traffic, you funnel all that blog content to the tool
It's everything, yeah.
because everything makes sense and connects together. Because you can assume that if someone's on the blog, they're going to want to play around with this free tool. And so
Mhm.
I kind of just like started thinking about this. And I think I talked to you about it at CEX, but I was just like, this thing just feels like it's like such a good, like no brainer. And so
Mhm.
we pretty much spent a year figuring out how to do it at scale, did a couple of test runs, a couple of beta projects. Um, and now we can crank out the tool in like 5 hours. Um,
Mhm.
it's just like this
Interesting.
massive unlock of a strategy. And then I did all the keyword research and found out like what industries are the best ones. Like M&A, you can make 10 different tools, or like personal injury attorneys who I'm trying to like really talk to a lot of. They can have like upwards of like literally 50 different lead magnets on their site, or like family law can have 30. Like there's just all these like weird niches where you can have like dozens of tools all just driving a ton of leads. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of where I've set my focus on.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's where some creativity comes into play too, because it's literally like, it's almost like you're productizing. You think like, if you look at the industry, the business, like what is the most productized version of like what they do, and how can we give that away for free? Um, do you guys pair that with um, any kind of like an email strategy or recommendations for copy ongoing after that? Because I imagine that would be important if, um, like, what's the next step after the download? Is it they have to book a call to download the lead magnet, or is it they then get opt into an intro sequence that then converts? What's the next step after I download the lead magnet for the tool or use the
Yeah.
tool?
So there's two different setups. So like if the tool, like if we go and look at other tools that are ranking currently and there's no free report or download button, like we just made one for um, Amazon shipping logistics calculator or Amazon shipping calculator for like FBA and FBM sellers. Like those people don't want reports sent to them. They just want to figure out what is the shipping costs on average for their boxes on FBA. So we would just put the CTA below that and hope that that conversion, and we'd have to tweak that. To your
Okay.
question though, we would give, if there is a report being sent within the tool, we just set up one email, and that just goes straight to the user instead of like, hey, here's the report, or here are the, information you requested, and it would be like all the outputs plus their inputs. Um, and then have some sort of like natural CTA at the bottom in terms of like, hey, if you want to book a time with our team, like here's how to do that and get 20% off your next service or something like that. And then we have it all set up in the back end with Make or Zapier, depending on the client's preference, connected to their CRM. They get sent into that, and the client then has to set up some sort of like nurture sequence or drip campaign, depending on their preference. And then next step, next layer that we're developing currently, which will probably be out like Q3, fingers crossed, is a full go high level layering system that'll have automated text, automated emails, automated follow up sequences, and everything that's just turnkey for them.
Yeah, you guys are thinking like 5 steps ahead. Yeah, that's everything. And I've been experimenting with like what this could look like too. Um, there is an agency. It's called Flow Ninja, and I got to interview the founder. But they're like the enterprise of enterprise webflow agencies, and they
Nice.
have the way they use it is it's just purely like lead qualification. So they have like a one step opt in for like an AI powered website audit or whatever the hell. Sorry, or whatever it is. And the it's an automatic email send, and they just use that to qualify leads internally because it's a one step opt in with an email. But then
Hmm.
it redirects you after it collects your email to then fill out like company information, company size, revenue, team size, things like that. So I definitely see the
It's
value in
cool.
something like that because it's so much easier to sell. Like you have to find some kind of, and this is like the general philosophy of the whole thing, I'd imagine, is it's you can't sell, a 3K consulting service via a website. You have to find some method in the middle to nurture, start a conversation, and tools or something that holds actual value is a very tangible
Yeah.
way to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think that like I just have talked, like I've talked to so many people now in the sales cycle that even before we launch this, where I know exactly what the pain points are before they even bring them to me. So I'm like, hey, let me guess, you worked with an SEO agency. They got you ranking on first page or top three for your ideal keywords. You saw an influx of traffic and you saw 0 leads. And they're like, yep. And I'm like, great. I'm guessing that they did some sort of ongoing blog content. They built you backlinks and the reports looked great. Is that right? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, great. I'm also guessing they didn't build you a lead magnet. They also didn't build you a nurture sequence. And they also didn't help you turn that traffic into any sort of like MQL or leads. Does that sound right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, great. We do all that. And then it's just kind of like this pause. And I've just kind of like, I can see the light bulb go off. And I know just like after having enough of the conversations that when you talk about like traditional SEO in the sense, nobody's hired to do the rest of the other stuff because that's just out of scope. Like you're merging two different agencies. And so we just figured out how to be another agency at the same time. So
Yeah, that's why there's this line, and some people have like this identity crisis. Um, Especially service, like for example, a lot of people when AI first became a thing, especially in the SEO space, they're all like, "Oh, like you could literally tell." There was people that got excited, and there's like, "Hell yeah, like look what we can do," and the people that were just like, "Oh my god,
they're
like I
afraid.
have to like
Yeah.
cling to my past identity and just cry to the mountains or whatever." Um, I think the people, and I think this applies across any service provider niche is you have to think one step ahead and not get so entrenched of like this is the old way or this is my job or this is what I do. I mean, people attach whenever you attach your identity to one particular service or platform is where you really start to make yourself vulnerable just in terms of how fast things are changing. Um, and then there's the other side of it too, where I mean, playing devil's advocate for myself for myself is you also have to find the fine line of that is this is making yourself just memorable from a marketing standpoint. Like this is the outcome. That's why you have to attach yourself to outcomes and not like design or SEO specifically. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm learning too, is that you really have to focus on the outcome and what they want more so than the tool or what you're using to achieve it. Um, when it comes to a lot of what you guys are doing now, does it look like, well, actually, we'll start there. Like, take me through. I mean, it sounds like a lot of your day is content now, but when it comes to what a day in your life looks like now, doing what you're doing, what is high level? I know that changes, but high level, what is it? What does it look like now?
A lot of it right now is networking. With that service we launched, we put out the word online across Facebook, LinkedIn, all of our platforms, and said that we are offering 90 days of free service to about three-ish firms, like PI firms, personal injury firms, and family law are kind of the two bread and butter. Like I said, we already know the keyword research, we know the strategy, kind of implement it. We'll do 90 days of free work in exchange for a year of analytics so we can make a case study. And so we just got absolutely swallowed up by that offer. I have like, like we have one client who is actually an attorney and he put that on like a lawyer Facebook group, like 20 referrals from him. I had like 10 other referrals from my partner's Facebook post. We had two more go out today. So it's just like a lot of these people are kind of coming to us with like to just raising their hand. I mean, you throw out free services for 3 months, anyone's going to eat that up. So a lot of my time is just trying to figure out like how to cherry pick the best ones and making sure that it's like good for the business and also a good fit for them. And a lot of it's just content now. So like LinkedIn content, threads, um, networking calls, getting those meetings set up with like not only attorneys, but also like people like you, like web developers, link builders, local SEO people. Like we don't offer local SEO. So trying to figure out how I can just kind of like meet as many people and then also kind of see if there's any lateral moves to kind of work with them on that sort of capacity.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I know we said it like before we started recording, but I want to create a version of the business where I can do something similar, honestly. Not that you're successful or anything. I don't want to give you too many flowers. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, that's so much of what our job is now is just trying to think one step ahead and knowing, like, I mean, even for the tool-centric offer, like that took some forethought to know, like, okay, this is what's getting actual results. Like, how do we expand on that offering and how do we make that more of our business moving forwards? I mean, especially in site design, it's so much having to think one step ahead. Like, how many form submissions? What's the next step? What's the automation from there? Um, because once the moment that you get entrapped in this is what we do, and it's hard to move fast or build like a really robust system. Like, it's the thing I'm currently struggling with is creating really repeatable processes and communicating those and delegating those to the contractors that we work with. But talk to me about more what's exciting for you guys nowadays. Like, what gets you really excited to? I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it just changes from day to day. But if you could like think of the thing that's most exciting to you, maybe a really good result or case study that you guys are building now. If you had to say there was one part of your day that's exciting you the most, maybe from the creative standpoint.
The website is live. Now is when the real work starts. While it's never been easier to build a website, the same is also true that it's never been harder to make a website actually work hard for you. Across our work on hundreds of projects and working with dozens of marketing teams, what we've found is that before we start, the website is often the slowest moving part, but that doesn't have to be the case. Digital ink is never dry. The moment your website launches is the best opportunity that you have to make it effective and drive marketing qualified leads month after month after month. Most marketers are acting blind. They just don't know who's going to their website. They don't have visibility to see what pages, what specific actions, and how long they're spending on each page. All of these are high intent signals of your warmest prospects. Over the past several years, we've worked so hard to put together a strategy that lets us not just see who these people are, but specifically track what actions they're taking on your website and give you those insights on a silver platter. What we find hilarious is that as marketers, we're so diligent on showing up every single day, always posting to social, making ourselves as visible as possible. And yet, our most visible and high converting, trust gaining asset sitting at the bottom of that funnel is maintained the least. Over the years with our website lead gen clients, we've culminated a premium tool stack that not only see who these high intent website visitors are, but we can also directly trace them to other marketing campaigns. Having a good website is the foundation for all of this opportunity. And if you're not investing marketing efforts into it month after month, your most profitable asset is being lazy. If spending time in the weeds, looking through data, and connecting these insights to the rest of your marketing is not your jam, if your website is being lazy, let's have a conversation.
From the content standpoint, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm having kind of this like new wave or new honeymoon phase of creating content around this process. So a lot of like my new LinkedIn content is around like the pros, the cons, the pain points. So just talking about this process in huge detail. So it's kind of nice to like stir that again and kind of like be back into square one and like getting back into the social media grind. Um, Trying to not really care as much as I used to about social media too, I think is refreshing. And like going on the threads and kind of responding to people as if they're my friends and kind of trying to be my own personal self instead of like some massive thought leadership style comment on LinkedIn that I think is going to get me 1,000 impressions. It's like I'd rather just pop in there and put a one liner of like a random funny thought that comes to my head and see what happens. Try to just be more carefree in that sense. And then, yeah, just talking to as many people as I can about the strategy because I feel like obviously it's out there. It's not like I made this out of thin air. Like people are obviously doing the strategy, but at least in the echo chamber I live in, no one's talking about it. And anybody I talk to has never heard of it. And so the conversations I keep having just give me a lot of fuel because everyone I bring it up to, they're like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. Like I can see how this makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, here are two case studies, and each case study has over 100 leads a month. And so it's just kind of it's really energizing, I think, to kind of like have a lot of this perfect right place, right time kind of storm.
Yeah, and yeah, that makes a ton of sense. In my current phase right now, like I've been very much on the, um, obviously you guys are 2 or 3 steps ahead of me. Um, I'm kind of in that phase now where I'm very honestly, dude, like I am so fired up by just anything in person these days when it comes to either, you really have to be. I went to New York at the end of last year, and I learned that you have to be really generous with yourself of getting anything done whatsoever, like anything when you travel. And also, like my first time doing public transit was just an absolute
Yeah.
nightmare. I spent $140 on
Oh, geez.
driving the wrong direction. I went all the way to Long Island when I was trying to go to Manhattan. Anyway, might cut that out, but honestly, just anything in person is just like so fulfilling to me now. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what it is about, and honestly, like not some of the events are absolute dog shit. Like the event in New York was horrible. It was literally, I might cut that out too, but the agency that put it on was literally just a sales pitch for all their clients. I was like, what the hell are we
Oh,
doing here? You know? But I
yeah, that's
got
a
to see
bummer.
people that like I literally got to see people that I met on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and
that's always fun.
yeah, and then we could talk shit about the speakers. But between that and we met at CEX, like that was
Yeah.
awesome. I got to meet you. I got to meet. I mean, I see Allison a lot, but I had to meet Jay Klaus, and he agreed to come on
Hmm.
the podcast because I met him there. I sent a really embarrassing email to him that he brought up brought up in person. Um,
Really?
but like, yeah, that was that was something. But but yeah, if I hadn't met him in person, he wouldn't have brought it up and teased me about it to my face. So, um, but what I mean to say is that like in person stuff is really firing me up these days, and I think as people, um, like just with the current environment that we're dealing with, I think a lot of people are gonna start to value that stuff a lot more too. So, is there any
Yeah.
like in person motions that do you particularly enjoy? I know you go to some conferences, but anything along the in person lines that you might be doubling down on in the future too?
Nothing that's like on the books right now. I'm definitely thinking about it and I'm trying to get the feelers out there. I love CEX. I think it's a great event. I just don't think it's for me anymore. Like, but when I was in that era of being the like content entrepreneur, that was great. I've been lucky enough to land a client at both CEXs I went to. So like it does kind of work itself out from that mindset. But
Yeah,
if I was going to go to a conference now, it would probably be like an attorney, like boring conference where I
yeah,
wouldn't sit in on any of the like lectures, but I would just network to the max and be the only SEO there. Like I think that was the problem too, is that most events where it's like you go there and there's like 40 other people like you, and you're like, this
yeah.
is great, but I'm just talking to myself. It's like,
That's
okay,
what
cool.
that's what we call a sausage fest. It's like it's much value, and that's what I've learned too. Is that like you go to a web design conference, you're like, hey, let's nerd out about Webflow. I'm like, hey, we all do
Exactly.
the same thing. Um, which I mean, there's value in that too, but obviously,
Sure. Just
we have to be mindful of our
different
time.
goals. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's hard to even know too, like, I mean, that's so much what marketing is, like, knowing where like, attribution as a whole, because, like, when it even comes to LinkedIn and content, it's like, okay, I met this person on LinkedIn, but then we got coffee, like, 12 months ago, so it was really an in-person affair, but then they reached out via LinkedIn, year and a half later. So it's just a lovely thing
Mhm.
about what we do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, more circling the plane on SEO here. Like I said, I'd just love to get off topic, but I've gotten a chance to interview a lot of SEOs. Um, More recently, like even tomorrow, Michelle Bourbonniere. She's kind of under the radar. She is a PhD researcher in Canada, and she is absolute genius. Talking about, she's a really good analogy of like um, pages versus passages and the difference between. I'm going to totally butcher all that stuff, but just really eloquent. And that's why I let people, experts like you, talk about the stuff and not me. I got to talk to Dale Bertrand. He owns a big agency in the Boston area. Really smart, eloquent dude. Compares AI search to a library and using old-fashioned index cards as like the search query, and then that sets off um, another process. Which again, letting him explain that, go back and listen to that episode. And then about a month and a half ago, I got to interview Andy Crestodina, and
Yeah,
he's more on
Andy's great.
the yeah, dude. That was like that was awesome. I was like, oh my god, I love you, dude. Um, but and he was talking more. He's more on the content side um, when it comes to SEO, but he's just a total genius in knowing like how all the things that are changing play into one another. If you had to kind of plant your flag in terms of um, what maybe a potentially not controversial, but a unique opinion about SEO that you could attribute to Steven and or Trio SEO, that not a lot of other people or bots on LinkedIn are talking about, what would that be?
Yeah, I think it's just the lead magnet funnel. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's my new hill I'll die on. Like I spent a year designing it and it's now finally like my child's been born after 9 months, 12 months. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think that like traditional SEO is it's kind of misunderstood in that like you hire an SEO to obviously get you more business and inbound and all that sort of stuff, which is like, yeah, obviously that's why people hire them. SEOs aren't always like positioned to succeed, which is really unfortunate because an SEO can be a very good SEO and do their job very well. And on paper, they have done their job quite well. And then they still get the short end of the stick and get bad mouthed and say, SEO is a scam and I hired them. And a year later, there were no leads, but the conversation is not always fair. And there's always a, two-way street. So I think that the incorporation of designing and developing very intent focused lead magnets in the sense that it attracts, engages, and qualifies organic traffic all without you having to do anything and then throws them into a nurture sequence. I think that's where you can get a layer up on everything moving forward. And that's where I want to kind of like plant my flag in the sand.
Hmm. Yeah. Let me play double. I've already said devil's advocate once, but let me devil's advocate. Um, where would you draw the line of, because me that sounds like so much of like a full cycle. I know we always talked about like staying one step ahead. To me, that sounds like a full cycle marketing, and I know all these things play into each other, like you know, site architecture, conversion, next step. They lead them to the right path. Into the CRM, into a nurture sequence, like the full picture of what a marketing system is. Um, when it comes to like drawing the lines of what is uniquely SEO,
Mhm.
where is that within the funnel? I would imagine it is creating it's creating the tools, it's creating the search intent pages that then drive traffic to the tools, which you mentioned some sites have up to like 50, I think you said, different ones of
Mhm.
those. And then I would maybe even end the SEO part there, because everything kind of before and after that, maybe not before, maybe after that, sounds to me like direct lead generation via a nurture sequence, which is more from a found audience already. So like in
Mhm.
that process right there, and more of like a sandbox, I'm trying to picture like the whole ecosystem, because that's what I'm especially trying to get better at, is knowing where um, where my role in sort of design and site architecture, CRO, plays in all this, is where would you categorize CRO or categorize SEO within that process of the tool centric lead magnets?
Yeah. So I think that the main thing to like to grasp is that like we won't create a lead magnet unless there's actual an SEO keyword behind it. And so like from a traditional marketing sense, creating lead magnets is not new. Like lead magnets have been around since businesses were around, essentially. And I think that when it comes to us and what we're trying to do is create something that's on an autopilot, but actually is still backed by SEO. So like going back to the business valuation calculator, like that like calculator keyword itself gets like 2,500 searches per month. But then you add, how to sell my veterinary practice as a blog, and that blog gets 300 searches per month. And then you add how to sell my law firm, how to sell my insert XYZ, and there's 100 other blogs. The SEO core of it is still going after keywords and creating content that matches alignment with those keywords. The difference being is that the content's just not a written blog piece. It's just a bidder or a quiz. And instead of somebody reading that blog and then leaving, they're using that tool and getting sent a report, quote unquote. But that just counts as a lead. So, did I answer your question? Is that
Yeah, absolutely. I think I part of it was to get you to talk more in depth about it, but I think the genuine sort of idea is to be as helpful as you can for the traffic that you attract via a blog or via
yeah,
whether it's a tool at the end of the day. I mean, that used to be the
exactly.
intent back before creating tools was as accessible, I think, as easy, not as easy, obviously, because a lot of the strategy goes into creating a tool that's actually useful and valuable, or else you're just leading people to something that will leave a bad taste in their mouth after they actually use it. Um,
Yeah,
but I think that's a really good North Star is you're essentially, okay, we're attracting the traffic, we're doing the research. How can we, once we attract that intent driven customer, how can we provide as much value and provide as much goodwill to them as possible and actually answer their query and solve their problem so that then they'll want to take the next step and they'll actually want to opt into a result. Um, I think that's what you're leading with in terms of the North Star of, actually converting on the traffic that you do gather.
yeah.
Um, yeah, dude, super cool, man. I think the last thing I was gonna ask you is when when it comes to how old are you by the way? Again, I think I asked you this in our last chat, but how old are you?
31.
Okay, that's really young. Um, when it comes to sorry, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Where sorry, I just totally forgot what I was gonna say. Where can people go to learn about you and SEO? I mean, where can people go to follow you? Sounds like you're on Threads a lot these days, like I said. But if people want to reach out to you, there's a lot of marketers in the audience, and learn more about what you're doing. I know you're visible on LinkedIn and Threads. Anywhere else they should go?
That's pretty much it. I mean, if you want to reach me one way or another, uh, DMs are always open. Always like to talk to people and kind of just network. But yeah, Threads and LinkedIn are where I hang out most.